This was supposed to be a campground video for the campground at Cataloochee. However, the Cataloochee campground is closed. So I figured, what the heck, I'm here, I may as well make a video about one of the greatest places on earth. Before we go any further, if you haven't done so already, how about you mash that subscribe button, give me a big thumbs up, and click the bell for notifications. Hey y'all, and welcome to another episode of Eating Good in the Woods Campground Reviews. Now, as I said before, a slight confession. This was supposed to be a campground video, but due to COVID, the campground has been closed. So I figured since I'm here, I'm going to do a little thing on one of my favorite places on earth, Cataloochee in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. Cataloochee Valley is nested among some of the most rugged mountains in the southeastern United States. Surrounded by 6,000-foot peaks, this isolated valley was one of the largest and most prosperous settlements in what is now the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. Some 1,200 people lived in this lovely mountain valley in 1910. Most made their living by farming, including commercial apple growing, but an early tourism industry developed in Cataloochee, with some families boarding fishermen and other tourists who wished to vacation in the mountains. A variety of historic buildings have been preserved in the valley. 2 churches, a school, and several homes without buildings. The name Cataloochee is derived from a Cherokee word which means fringe standing erect. The name probably refers to the tall rows of trees along the ridges surrounding the valley. The Cherokee used the valley primarily as hunting ground. Early settlers recalled at least one Cherokee hunting camp in the vicinity of Little Cataloochee Creek. The Cataloochee Trail, which stretched from the Cove Creek area to what is now Cosby, Tennessee, connected the Cherokee Middle settlements with the Overhill towns. The modern Cove Creek Road closely parallels this trail. By the time the first European explorers and traders arrived, the trail had been worn to a foot deep in some places. The Cherokee gave up their claims to Cataloochee when they signed the Treaty of Halston in 1791. They continued to hunt and fish in the valley, though. Hattie Caldwell Davis, a descendant of Cataloochee's first European-American settlers, recalls that her ancestors spoke fluent Cherokee and were always on friendly terms with them. Davis's great-grandfather, Levi, is believed to have provided aid to Cherokees hiding in the forest during the Trail of Tears period. Tourism began trickling into the Smokies in the late 19th century, drawn by mineral-rich mountain springs that were thought to have health-restoring qualities. Many mountain residents built additional rooms onto their houses to accommodate lodgers, and several hotels sprang up. The Cataloochee Ranch was established in 1933 by Tom and Judy Alexander. The ranch was open April 15th through October 15th with 10 rooms at rates ranging from $2.75 to $5 a day. Jarvis Palmer operated an 8-person lodge and 3 cottages during the 1930s with slightly lower rates. Compared to other driving destinations within the park, Cataloochee remains relatively remote. While a well-mannered paved road traverses Big Cataloochee, the valley is connected to the outside world by a cruel gravel Cove Creek Road, which is riddled with sharp turns as it crosses Cataloochee Divide and Sterling Ridge. Cataloochee Campground is located in the historic Cataloochee Valley, a relatively remote part of the Smoky Mountains National Park. The secluded setting offers visitors the ability to enjoy a multitude of recreational activities like hiking and fishing. Cataloochee Campground is surrounded by picturesque mountain ranges and pristine mountain streams. Campsites are $25 per night for individual campsites. Access Pass, Golden Age, or Interagency Access Pass receive a 50% discount on individual campsites. There is no discount on group campsites. Cove Creek Road is accessible from Jonathan Creek Road, I-40 exit 20, or from the Big Creek area near Watersville in North Carolina. Elk were reintroduced into the park in February of 2001 when 25 elk from the Land Between the Lakes National Recreation Area were released in Cataloochee. Most of the original $1.1 million cost was funded by the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, which provided $700,000. Elk once roamed the highlands of the southern Appalachia, but were eliminated by hunting and loss of habitat. Elk herds are a common sight in Cataloochee in the spring and fall. After 2011 calving season, the total population of elk in the park was estimated to be just over 130. As a side note, these are spectacular beings. For historical purposes, the National Park Service has preserved several structures dating to Cataloochee's pre-park days. Unlike other historical areas of the park such as Cades Cove and the Mountain Farm Museum, many of the structures in Cataloochee have a more modern look and are more representative of life in the early 20th century as opposed to pioneer life in Appalachia. Notable exceptions are the Cook Cabin and the Hanna Cabin. The Palmer House in Big Cataloochee was built in 1869 by George Lafayette Palmer. Originally a log cabin, a framed addition and weatherboarding were added later by Palmer's son, Jarvis. Along with the house, the site includes the Palmer's frame spring house, smokehouse, and barn. The house now contains a self-guided museum. The Palmer Chapel in Big Cataloochee was built in 1898 on land deeded by Mary Ann Palmer. The Caldwell House in Big Cataloochee was built in 1898 to 1903 by Hiram Caldwell. The Caldwell Barn adjacent to the house was built in 1923. The Messer Barn was built by Will Messer around 1905 and was originally located in Little Cataloochee. It was later moved to the Ranger's residence where it stands today. Will's cousin, John Messer, built the Messer Barn that now stands in Greenbrier on the Tennessee side of the mountains. That's going to be about it for this episode of Eating Good in the Woods Campground Reviews. Listen, don't forget to subscribe, click the bell icon, and give me a big old thumbs up. Until next time, y'all go out there and be nice to each other. I love y'all. God bless.